Well, I'm honored to be here today to talk about Marty. I've worked with Marty for 28 years, and it's been a phenomenal ride.
Marty's had an amazing sort of career, and I certainly feel grateful for having had the opportunity to work with him and to sort of share in his energy and vision.
So many projects that CIL has completed are completely unique. And many times it's been his creativity and his optimism that's carried the day.
Marty has he's given CIL great organizational agility that I kind of feel that in my 28 years, and I'm sure the next 28 years, CIL is always changing. You know, even if you don't think it's changing, it really is changing. And I think it's been a testament to him that we've had the agility to adapt to a changing environment.
We've accomplished so much as a company, and I believe that it's all due to Marty's leadership.
I was born in Canada, northern Quebec province, in a little town called Amos. And I came to the States when I was 2 years old with my folks. Became a naturalized citizen when I was 9 years old. We moved to Hartford, attended St. Anne's School, parochial school, and then on to Hartford Public High. I have two brothers, one of whom has passed away, who were younger than me by 4 years or so. One of whom was severely disabled. He was quadriplegic. And so I learned very early on that there are people who, in this world, who, because of their particular situation, have to have additional attention paid to them, and therefore sometimes the focus of the parents' attention can't always be on you. I think that's kind of where I developed somewhat of an unselfish streak in terms of being empathetic to the needs of other folks. From 66, 67, I worked at Ernst & Ernst as an accountant. Then I went in the Army for 3 years, became a helicopter pilot, and I flew helicopters in Vietnam for a year. My Army training and my Army experience was very enlightening in terms of what leadership should be and what leadership shouldn't be.
I've had a glimpse into how he leads the organization, and he truly is a thoughtful leader. And a lot of leaders talk about team building, teamwork, team environment, but Marty has really created one. And I think that's going to be a huge part of his legacy, is the team that he's built at CIL.
I began to think of, of what should I be doing in my life? What should I be doing? And it was at that time that I realized, Marty, this isn't for you. And I knew that if I accepted, I was up for a promotion. And if I accepted that promotion, there was a fair amount of money that was going to come with it. And I would be lucky. And at that time, I had 3 children, and my wife was pregnant with our 4th. I knew that if we accepted that extra money, I would be kind of locking us into a lifestyle that it would be very hard to come back from. So I went home to my wife, and I told her that I had decided that I was to leave Ernst & Ernst, and I told her I wanted to become a social worker. So she said, Marty, you've had a little too much to drink. You've had a little too much to drink tonight. Maybe you ought to sleep on it, and let's see how you feel in the morning. So I woke up the next morning, and I said, I still feel the same way. I need to do something different. I think I'd like to, become a social worker. I think I'd like to work in social work. And she said, okay, I'll support you.
His leadership, his expertise, you could always go into Marty and ask him a question. You never felt as though, I never felt belittled by going in and asking him something. He was always there to answer whatever problem or question that I had.
When CIL was very young, we only had about 8 employees probably at that time, 6 or 8. And we were relying very much on government grants at the beginning to meet payroll and to kind of get us over the hump. And there were a couple of occasions where I had to actually defer taking my salary so that I could pay the other 5 to 6 employees who were on staff. And that was, I did that without even thinking. That's, in my mind, that's what a leader's supposed to do. A leader's supposed to put the people that he's leading, he or she is leading, ahead of himself or herself. It's when you take on the mantle of leadership, and along with it goes a pretty strong responsibility that you have to do, go the extra mile, do whatever you have to do to make things work. That's kind of my definition of what leadership is.
One of the great things about work with Marty is that he's always had such a positive attitude that it really is permeates through the whole organization. It's people walk in the door of CIL and they can feel that it's a good place to be, positive attitude, and that starts with Marty at the top.
Geraldo Rivera became very famous as a reporter when he was reporting on the horrible conditions at Willowbrook State School. And in the meantime, the folks, I believe it was Channel 3 here, went into Mansfield Training School and did the same kind of an expose and showed the horrible living conditions of folks living at Mansfield Training School. And so the next day, I got a call from Fran Kelly, the superintendent of Mansfield, who said, "Marty, will you come to work for me?" He said, "I need somebody with a business background to open up group homes to get people out of Mansfield Training School." So I actually, for 2 years, I worked at Mansfield Training School, but my job was to open up group homes and get people out of Mansfield Training School. So that was the very beginning of the deinstitutionalization movement.
Marty has always been a doer. And it served him well, and it served people with disabilities and lots of other labels very well. He was interested in thinking up great ideas and then doing something about it. And he deserves a lot of credit for that.
I knew that folks with intellectual disabilities could thrive very well in the community with the right kinds of supports and the right resources applied to them. So it was never a question in my mind as to whether. I still remember also a line that Fran Kelly, who was actually a pretty interesting guy, who had spent his career being a superintendent of large institutions, and I remember him making a speech saying that there was nothing he could provide to the folks that he was responsible for at Mansfield Training School that couldn't be done as well or better in the community. And that kind of stuck with me. And we here at CIL, we actually closed Mansfield. We built most of the homes that, when I was at Mansfield, there were 1,100 people living there. And we closed Mansfield in 1993. We here at CIL built most of the homes that housed the folks coming out of Mansfield. You hire talented people, you let them do their job, and you treat them right, both monetarily and socially. And that's really been kind of the fundamental groundwork or basis for my approach to leadership. And I think it's worked pretty well here at CIL. We've been pretty successful over the years.
Marty, he's been at the helm of having, a good time. As a staff, I don't know that there's many organizations that have the events that we've had. And, we've gone to Block Island on our outings, and he's been a huge cheerleader for that and loves it. I mean, he loves to go there. So, and just any kind of morale boosting event, he's all for it. He always has been.
Oh, we've done some wonderful projects here. We had put an offer on a house in a community, a subdivision in the town of Wethersfield. And the neighbors got together and they offered the owner $10,000 more to break his contract with us so that they wouldn't have a group home in their neighborhood. And he came to me and he said, Marty, he says, they were offering me $10,000 more. I said, we'll match it. And he hung in there with us, and he took a lot of flack from his neighbors, and we opened our first group home. So our approach has always been, we have a legal right to be there, let's go in there as quietly as possible, and then once we get into the neighborhood, then we'll invite folks in and have an open house and greet them as neighbors. So we did that, and we had horrible press. There were meetings at the town hall. People were all exercised that we were going to bring in ex-convicts, and there were all kinds of crazy stories about what we were doing. So they had an open house. They invited the neighbors in. A lot of the neighbors came by and were introduced to the residents and had a lovely time. And they actually turned around 95% of the neighbors who were opposed. And I always say, there's always the 5% lunatic fringe that you're never going to turn around. But they became wonderful neighbors. The home is still there to this day. They're treated very, very well. And the folks who live there are really part and parcel of the community there. Over the years, now we've developed group homes, over 500 in Connecticut and another 100 plus in Massachusetts. And now it's become an accepted phenomenon. Folks with developmental disabilities live in the community, and it's not really, although occasionally we do get some backlash, but not very often. One of the characteristics that you have to have a lot of is tenacity. You have to have deep pockets, and you have to be a risk taker, a serious risk taker.
I would say he's a knowledgeable risk taker, and I think because he's had so much success that he understands very deeply what the level of risk is that's tolerable.
Luckily, we've been able over the years to have a board of directors here at CIL that is very supportive of the staff decisions.
Well, I first started on the board for CIL in 2007, and since day one I've been so impressed with Marty for so many reasons. The first thing is he really knows how to utilize a board, how to partner with a board, and he welcomes the scrutiny, he welcomes the challenge, so that's been a wonderful experience. I wish I could stay on the board forever.
I normally introduce myself as a nonprofit real estate developer, specializing in housing for people with disabilities, because that's always been our core mission, always will be our core mission.
Never said no to any ideas from staff, from outsiders. I remember going to Marty and saying, hey Marty, there's an agency that wants us to build a school, could we do that? He goes, sure, let's I don't know how exactly we do it, but let's figure it out. And now we build schools for agencies.
It's really a marriage of the business skills that I developed along with the passion that I have for helping others. And that's really, has been very fulfilling for me here at CIL. And I've really enjoyed 35 years. It's hard to believe it's been 35 years, but I've really enjoyed the 35 years that I've been here.
Marty and I started our jobs at the same day, September 1st, 1979. And so it seems like we're both going out at the same time. And Marty sort of took us under our wing, and I'm not sure that our organization would be here today if it hadn't been for CIL and Marty.
But it is very rewarding to see that we've been able to accomplish so much in the city of Hartford. We've done well over 100 single-family homes that have been that were distressed homes, abandoned distressed homes that we brought back and sold to first-time home buyers. We've done multifamily housing. We've done factory conversions. We've done office conversions. So it is very rewarding to see that we've been able to help the community as we have.
I would just like to say it's been an honor to work with you all these years. You have definitely left an indelible mark on CIL. Again, great leadership, When I think of you, I think of somebody who just has such a passion for other people, and I just want to thank you, and good luck to you.
Marty, I wish you all the best in the next chapter. It's been great working with you. You're a fantastic leader. I've learned much from you, and I wish you much fun and happiness in the adventures you're about to have.
I also just wanted to sort of congratulate Marty and on really a career sort of well spent.
You know, Marty, it's just been a privilege and an honor to be able to work for CIL. Everything that I feel I've been able to do at CIL is a result of what you've allowed us to do at CIL, and you know what you brought to us at CIL. We're going to miss you. I hope you're not a stranger. I know you're moving on to other things, but you will never be forgotten at CIL, that's for sure.
Marty, I remember your brother Armand, and he was, he spent most of his daylight hours in a wheelchair, and I know that he would be very proud of all the work that you've done on behalf of people with disabilities in our state. So here's to you.
Au revoir, sports fans.